friends, and welcome to the Vibrant Living Podcast. I'm Jodi, therapist, coach, and wellness advocate.
And I'm Abby, coach and adventure enthusiast. Today, we're going to be diving into a topic that we get asked about all the time. How long should coaching actually last? And honestly, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Isn't that right, Jodi?
Yeah, exactly, Abby. Coaching is highly individualized. The healthy time frame really depends on your goals, the type of coaching you're doing, and the complexity of the issues you're working on. Some people see meaningful change in just a few sessions, and others benefit from months or even years of consistent work.
So if someone is just starting out, how do they begin to figure what kind of time frame is realistic?
Well, there are a few factors that guide in this. The client's goals are a big one. For example, if you're dealing with something very specific like stress at work or adjusting to a big life change, short-term coaching, maybe 6 to 12 sessions, can be really effective.
Okay, that makes sense. What about if someone's tackling something more complex?
Now, give me some examples. What are we talking about?
Sure. Maybe like if we're falling in the realm of complex trauma or anxiety or depression.
So those are topics that probably would not be tackled in a coaching dynamic. That's more therapy versus coaching. And they might need a little longer therapy, say 12 to 18 months or more, sometimes even longer than that. This case is often the case for things like chronic conditions like complex trauma, personality patterns that you want to shift in a lasting way. There are different types of therapy, and that matters too. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, tends to be more structured and short term. Psychodynamic therapy, on the other hand, is deeper and more exploratory, so it naturally takes longer.
Okay, so therapy, depression, complex trauma, we're bucketing that in kind of the therapy space. So for coaching, maybe some examples we would see is like life transition. So if somebody is moving or going through a divorce, if they're going through a job change, or maybe they're looking to go on a job transformation, or maybe if somebody is like just getting into a relationship and that's new for them. So maybe there's like some relationship development. Those would be maybe more coaching appropriate.
Absolutely. Coaching helps with actionable items that move you forward versus therapy working with how you feel and what you feel about a situation.
So are there certain milestones that signal someone is on the right track, even if they're in the long-term coaching space?
Yeah, absolutely. Most healthy coaching journeys have a few stages. So in the early stages, we're looking for signs, say in the first 1 to 3 months, where you start to feel hope and clarity and some relief knowing you're moving toward your goals.
Yeah, I feel like I can remember that from my own journey too, like really building trust, kind of beginning to tell my story, kind of, and then getting like really clear on goals and objectives.
Well, then we have, I don't know if we want to call it phase 2, but we're looking at consistent growth. So maybe the next 3 to 6 months, you might notice real change is happening in your relationships and communication and your coping strategies.
Yeah, it's like that time when you like really start to experiment with some of these new practices and approaches you learn about in the coaching dynamic, and you start to identify obstacles. And I always think of that infamous phrase you have of, what did we do right, what would we do differently next time? And that's why weekly coaching sessions are so impactful, because it gives you that time to really think through your activity for the week, and like what stood out to you, what was difficult, and kind of just like walk through some of those scenarios so you can begin to point out like, okay, like we've talked about these new practices, here's how they showed up in this experience. And then maybe, okay, here are the things that we didn't necessarily do this time, but like the next time this comes up, I'm going to remember this session, this moment, to make sure that I take some additional time to really try and bring those into whatever.
What we have to remember is that our thoughts influence our feelings influence our actions. And this is where we start to build consistent growth. It's important to get clients the resources and tools they need.
Yeah, definitely. and to celebrate the progress. And that's something, Jodi, you're so good at, is really noticing the notches in progress. Because I think too, in this world of in our world today, we want immediate instant change, and that's just not the case. It's really just bit by bit progress, and to have a coach be able to reflect that progress onto you is so helpful, and it really helps keep our clients motivated.
Exactly. And we need that. And so for the deeper transformation, we're talking about 6 months or more. And when you're talking about celebrating the wins and what did you do right, what would you do differently, that's where those types of questions and those coaching sessions are really pivotal, because you're really going after and tackling the long-standing patterns or the deep-seated issues.
Hmm. Yeah. And then we can even start to apply some of those successful strategies that are working to multiple areas of life. And a lot of times we'll see like the response time and being able to solve those problems or handle situations in the moment, make decisions, really lessen, which again helps speed up our time to get us moving forward as quickly as possible.
And then there's termination or ending coaching. Um, there doesn't always come a time, but there ultimately does always come a time when the relationship with your coach comes to a close. And ideally, what we want for you is that it's a collaborative effort, that you're ready to function independently, functioning well independently, and that you've met your initial goals. We want to encourage our clients to stay in community that way. As life continues and new challenges arise, we're there, we're available as a resource to them.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And it really is leveling up in all areas of life. As we hit these different stages, we continue to grow, and just staying in community with our coaches, with our clients, it provides that safety net of, the next time a challenge comes up or a new goal comes into play, you have this resource, this team, this community to go back to building.
Yeah, exactly. And along the way, it's so important to check in regularly with your coach. Ask yourself, am I seeing improvement? Do I feel more resilient? Am I developing the skills to reach my goals?
And that can be a tricky one. Jodi, what's your advice, or what would you recommend doing for a client who feels stuck?
Well, first we want to identify the fact that feeling stuck doesn't mean that coaching has failed or that it isn't working. It's a cue to reevaluate. It can feel uncomfortable to give honest feedback to your coach about how you're really doing, or to say you're not sure if things are working for you or improving. Remember, your coach has been hired to help you. They're your partner in this process. Sharing openly about where you are allows you and your coach to adjust, recalibrate, and make sure you're moving in the direction you actually want to go. Maybe you need a different approach. Maybe it's time to practice skills more independently, or maybe some creative coaching could help.
So, when we say creative coaching, because that's a very unique phrase, what do we mean by that here?
So within the Vibrant Living coaching community, we've developed a model that takes a collaborative approach to the coaching dynamic. The client's in the driver's seat. They get to choose with whom and how often they work, whether they work with one coach or multiple coaches for a few months or a year.
So, let's talk about one thing that people worry about. Could coaching go on for too long? Are there any drawbacks?
There can be. Coaching is a big time and financial commitment. And there's the risk of dependency if someone leans too heavily on their coach, or if they stop taking actions outside of the sessions. This is why regular reevaluation and open communication are essential.
That's really helpful, Jodi. And I love that the emphasis is placed on healthy time frame, because it is really personal, and there's no shame in short-term coaching or in taking a longer approach. It's all about progress, growth, and finding what works best for you.
Exactly. Coaching is a tool to help you build resilience, self awareness, and life skills. Knowing when to start, adjust, and even end coaching is just a part of the journey.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today. Huge thanks to Jodi for breaking this down with such clarity. And thanks to everyone for listening. Take what resonates, and remember, your personal development journey is uniquely yours.
Great conversation, Abby.
Couldn't agree more. If today's conversation resonated with you, make sure you join our inner circle. Subscribe to our newsletter to get reflections, resources, and next week's topic straight to your inbox. And for early access to new episodes and bonus content, subscribe and visit our website, vibrantliving.solutions. Thanks for listening and being part of this vibrant community.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay compassionate, keep living vibrantly, and most of all, take care of you.